Welcome to Suri Cheating Story, where we share true stories of betrayal in love. Our channel brings heartfelt, real-life experiences from those who have endured the pain of infidelity. Whether you're facing challenges in your own relationship or seeking to better understand the complexities of love and trust, Suri Cheating Story is the place for you. Subscribe now to explore the emotional depths in the path to healing with us. Relationships, whether it's love or dislike, can happen at first sight, and sometimes they are just as groundless. Perhaps this feeling arises at the level of chemical elements, something more primal than logic or reason. I work in a hypermarket chain at the middle management level. I don't have any staff under my supervision, and I mostly interact with the external environment. What happens inside the hypermarket hardly concerns me. That's why I didn't exactly fear the potential consequences of my relationship with Tina. Not that I concealed it much. Of course, I didn't hide my connection with the cashier, Tina, but she wasn't my subordinate. After all, we had been together for a year, and we were planning to get married. Not that it particularly interested anyone, but, women are women. Tina once told one colleague in confidence, then another, and another in secret, and the result was predictably known to the entire female part of the team. I think if it weren't for my fiancé's lack of discretion, our relationship would have remained unnoticed for much longer. Tina arrives at work an hour earlier than I do and leaves earlier. Tina is attractive, both in her face and her figure. Our relationship had always been good. We never argued, and we practically had sex every night. Things were great between Tina and me until Kit came into the picture. He got a job as a warehouse worker, responsible for loading and unloading, transporting goods to the sales floor. At first glance, Kit seemed like an ordinary guy, a regular face, athletic, taller than me, and much broader in the shoulders. He was also very fond of women. Very soon, it became known that he was making advances on practically every girl and woman in the store. He shamelessly flirted, and what was worse, he did so successfully. You could tell by how one saleswoman after another started spending more time with him, leaving work together, laughing and joking as if they were already close. But then after some time, all communication between Kit and his conquests abruptly ended. It wouldn't have bothered me, and I wouldn't have paid much attention to it, except for one thing. Kit took an instant dislike to me. He made it a habit to tease me every chance he got. Whether it was a comment on my appearance, my work ethic, or even just the way I carried myself, Kit always found something to jab at. These remarks weren't confrontational enough to provoke a direct conflict, but whenever he cracked jokes or made snide remarks in front of others, I couldn't help but feel the sting. I kept my cool, not wanting to escalate things, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. His presence was starting to feel like an itch I couldn't scratch. As it happens, I know that many times after hearing his mocking remarks, I would shout responses to him in the solitude of my own mind. In retrospect, I came up with sharp retorts that I could have used to embarrass him right then and there, but they always occurred to me much later, too late to make a difference. There were plenty of moments where I could have fired back, like when he casually pointed at my polished shoes and said it seemed the only physical exercise I could do was bending down with a shoe brush. Or when he would mock my taste in music, eliciting approving laughter from our colleagues. Indeed, once, when I was talking on the phone, shifting from one foot to another, Kit jokingly told a saleswoman that if I urgently needed to use the restroom and was afraid I wouldn't make it, adult diapers could be found in the hygiene department. All the girls nearby burst into laughter, including Tina. Damn it. Maybe I was too tolerant. That week, not once did it occur to me to give him a worthy response. Thank God I didn't try to reply. There's nothing more awkward and pathetic than trying to respond seriously to overblown jokes, especially when they're meant to humiliate you. The tension in the air always felt thick with those jokes, and I didn't want to escalate things any further. Instead, I started avoiding him. I learned to keep my distance, to steer clear of his path as much as I could, and when I couldn't avoid him, I would change direction to bypass him. It seemed he caught on to that, and it wasn't long before he started showing up in unexpected places, lurking around like a shadow. But this time, his presence didn't come with his usual nasty remarks. There was something different about the way he interacted with me, as if he were silently waiting for something. Then came the moment when he found out about my relationship with Tina. It wasn't hard to figure out, really. I noticed a few times how he spoke to her when there were no customers around. As he was bringing a cart with merchandise to the sales floor, he would stop and chat with Tina, flirting and joking around. He was always trying to get a laugh, and Tina would laugh too, covering her mouth with her fingers, the way she used to when we had just started dating. It was a look, a gesture that I knew all too well, but now it felt like something had shifted. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I could tell something wasn't quite right. Maybe it was the way his smile lingered a little too long, or the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. Whatever it was, I could feel the undercurrent of tension building between us. For the first time, I started to realize that Kit wasn't just messing with me for fun. He was trying to undermine me, to break down my relationship with Tina, whether I realized it or not. I watched him with a growing sense of unease. I knew he could be charming when he wanted to, but this was different. As the days went on, I couldn't help but feel that he was closing in, step by step. And the more I watched him with Tina, the more I questioned everything. What did he want from me? From her? And why couldn't he just let things be? That evening, I sat down with Tina, and after a deep breath, I said, "We need to talk." I had been holding it in for too long, and I couldn't keep my suspicions bottled up anymore. "Tina," I began, my voice steady but serious, "I need to talk to you about something. It's about Kit." I watched her face as I spoke, looking for any sign that she might already know what I was going to say. "I've been noticing some hidden bullying that he's been orchestrating, and it's starting to get to me. He has this reputation as a ladies' man, and I think he's set his sights on you." Tina's expression softened, but I could see the slight tension in her shoulders. I hoped that she would understand my concern. "I'm telling you this because I care," I continued. "Tina, I'm asking you to stop any communication with him. You may think I'm paranoid, but I just feel like he intends to do something malicious. I don't want to come across as controlling or insecure, but please don't think that this means I don't trust you. I love you and I completely trust you. But Kit, you know how he's already seduced several girls from our store. It's like a game to him, a sport." Tina was quiet for a long moment, looking at me as if trying to process everything I had just said. Then finally she spoke. "Sweetheart, what's wrong with you?" she asked, her voice tinged with sadness. "I love you, and I won't allow him any liberties. Don't even think about it. You have nothing to worry about." Her words should have reassured me, but there was something in the way she said it, something that nagged at me. It occurred to me then that perhaps I needed to take a firmer stance and tell her more directly that she shouldn't communicate with him at all. I also realized that I needed to make it clear to her why it was so important. The next day, I walked along the main aisle of the store, trying to focus on the task at hand. But then I saw them, Tina and Kit. They were standing quite far from her department, and Kit was saying something to her. She was giggling, something that didn't sit well with me. I knew how easy it was to laugh at his jokes, but this felt different. I've always been observant, and though I'm no expert, I know a little about body language. I'd read marketing books that touched on gestures and subtle signs, and as I watched them interact, I couldn't help but notice how open her posture was. The way her shoes were turned slightly outwards, as though she were trying to make herself more inviting. She had pulled her shoulders back, clearly emphasizing her chest, and the hand that she used to hold onto her wrist. It wasn't just a casual gesture. She was showing her palm to him, making sure he could see it clearly. It hit me like a wave, and I froze where I stood. Was she flirting with him? Why was she acting like this? I thought back to the conversations we had, the trust I had placed in her, and the promises we'd made. I watched them for a moment longer, my heart sinking with every second. I wanted to go up to her, to ask her what was going on, but I couldn't bring myself to do it, not yet. I needed more clarity, more understanding of what was happening between them. The distance between them was quite friendly, nothing too overt or direct. But in that moment, something in me clicked, and I suddenly understood. She was no longer mine. The way she stood, the way she looked at him, even the small gestures she made with her body, it all said one thing. Her posture, the way she leaned slightly toward him. Her body language, it could be described with one short word. Yes, it was subtle, but unmistakable. I didn't show any signs of reaction. I simply walked by, pretending not to notice. That day I saw them 3 more times. Each time they were in different parts of the store, always far from her department. There were no obvious actions, no intimate touches, no embraces, no kisses. But the way they communicated, the way she stood when he was near, her body language, it told me everything I needed to know. It was clear that she was consenting to whatever Kit was offering, whether she realized it or not. How did I observe them, you ask? It wasn't as complicated as it might seem. I simply entered the security room with a premium bag of chips I bought from our store. I told the security guard that I changed my mind about the smaller bag I had picked out, and now I didn't know what to do with the larger one. I mentioned that I had seen him snacking on chips before, and he laughed and confirmed it. He indeed loved chips. I handed him the open bag of chips and almost casually mentioned that I was planning a marketing promotion and wanted to observe customer behavior. The security guard, happily distracted by the chips, graciously allowed me to enter the observation room. I pretended to be busy with something on my smartphone, but in reality I was watching Tina and Kit. It wasn't exactly sophisticated, but it was effective. Each time I watched them, I could see more of what was happening. Everything seemed predetermined. There was a pattern. Tina and Kit would talk, and she would laugh, her posture open, engaging. It felt like she was feeding off his attention, like she was enjoying the chase, even if it wasn't overt. I was learning more than I wanted to know. In the evening, I tried to talk to Tina again, hoping for a real conversation, but as soon as I mentioned what I'd seen, she lied blatantly. She claimed she hadn't spoken to Kit that day. I didn't know what to say in response. More accurately, I knew exactly what I wanted to say, that she was lying to my face. But what good would it do? The line hadn't been crossed yet, not in a way that would make everything clear and irreversible. If I laid out everything I knew, she might become even more cunning in her attempts to deceive me. There was still a small chance that she was worth fighting for, so I kept quiet, simply waiting for that chance to materialize. I wasn't exactly spying on her, but yes, in a way I was. Every morning, when she left for work an hour earlier than me, I would follow. I'd go to the store, head to security, and wait for an opportunity to observe. Each time I saw her, the more I realized how much of a game this had become. Tina wasn't just my fiancée anymore. She was slipping away little by little, drawn into something else, something I couldn't control. I casually mentioned to Tina about the customer behavior study I'd been conducting, hinting that I was monitoring her and Kit on the store's security monitors. I said it as if it were no big deal, but deep down, I knew I was trying to gather more information. But I also tried to surround her with care and attention, showering her with love and talking about the upcoming wedding and the future. I wanted to keep things normal, to show her that I was still invested, even as my trust in her was eroding. At least I tried. But despite my efforts, something was slipping away from me, and I could feel it. Then came Saturday. She didn't come home after work. At least when I returned an hour after she was supposed to be back, she wasn't there. All I found was a text message from her saying she was meeting friends and would be out late. On the surface, it seemed innocent enough, but I knew something was wrong. There was no direct evidence, but for some reason, I immediately understood. The pieces were falling into place. The evidence came soon after. Kit, of all people, had sent me a link to a video on his cloud. At first I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me, and I clicked it. What I saw confirmed everything I had been dreading. In the video, Tina lowered her head, positioning herself below Kit's waist, giving him intimate attention. The sight hit me like a punch to the gut. And then Kit turned the phone camera towards himself, smirking into the lens as if he knew exactly what he was doing. He showed me his middle finger, as if to taunt me. It was clear. He was recording this for me. My heart sank as I realized the message he was sending. Tina wasn't just with him. She was playing into his game, letting him have his way. The camera shifted again, showing her face as Kit flicked her nose lightly, catching her attention. She looked up at him, indignant but not seriously mad. She laughed the way girls do when they're teased, but deep down, it was clear she didn't mind. In fact, she liked it. Then Kit's voice came through the video. "Hey, we'll watch this later and remember the good times." He laughed, and then he added, "Come on, give me a smoochy smoochy." At that moment, everything shattered. Tina didn't seem to know her lover was going to send the video to anyone, but it looked like she was showing it to me. A cold realization hit me. This was it. It was over. I was done. There was no coming back from this. She had betrayed me in the most public way possible, and I could no longer pretend that everything was fine. This was the end of us, the end of the trust I had once placed in her, and they were still going at it. I couldn't believe it, but I couldn't tear myself away from the spectacle. It felt like I was stuck, helpless, watching it all unfold. I watched, ashamed, knowing that I should look away, that I should be doing anything but this. But I couldn't stop myself from watching until the end. I could hear Kit's panting voice come through the video. "Am I better than him?" he asked, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Better," she replied with a laugh. "I'll take care of you at work tomorrow. We'll have time before he gets here." I could tell from the tone that she was trying to sound casual, like it was no big deal, but the implications of her words hit me hard. Then Kit's voice again, low and menacing. "It's dangerous at work." She hesitated, trying to object, but Kit wasn't having it. "I'll decide when and where I have sex with you. You're mine now." I felt a strange rush of emotion. It was like the world had slowed down for a moment, and the reality of what was happening hit me all at once. I was hurt, deeply so, but there was also a sense of shame. Shame that I had watched it. Shame that I hadn't done anything to stop it. It was too much to process in one go, and I felt like I was drowning in it. I opened the wardrobe and began gathering Tina's clothes. I didn't know what I was doing. It just seemed like the only thing that made sense at the time. About an hour later, I packed 3 boxes and a bag with her belongings and drove to her parents' house. I unloaded them at the door, rang the doorbell, and quickly stepped back, hiding behind the corner of the house. I waited until the door opened, and I saw her surprised father inspecting the items. I didn't say a word. I just hurriedly drove away, feeling like I had done what needed to be done. My heart was heavy, but there was no going back now. When I returned home, I went straight for the bottle of gin Tina had given me a few months ago. I had kept it untouched all this time, never once considering opening it. But now, in this moment of anger and betrayal, it felt like the right time. I was about to uncork the bottle when a funny idea crossed my mind. Tomorrow at work, Kit would probably smirk at me. He'd be so confident that I wouldn't dare to publicly admit what had happened. He'd probably think I would cower, avoid confrontation, just let him get away with it. He might even brag to a couple of colleagues, maybe even show them the video, laugh about it behind my back. They'd gossip, joke, and chuckle. Those who had seen the evidence would revel in the victory he'd stolen from me. What would be left for me? Resign? Leave? Go far away where no one would know? That wasn't going to be the end of it. I wasn't going to let him win, not like that. The plan started to form in my mind. It was strange, almost insane, but I could feel it taking shape. I turned off my phone, silenced the doorbell, and secured the door with the latch. I needed to block everything out. I went to sleep that night, my ears stuffed with makeshift earplugs, determined to face whatever came next on my own terms. I didn't hear the knocking on the door when she returned. I didn't hear her cries either. My earplugs blocked out everything, and I couldn't bring myself to listen. I didn't even know how long she struggled to get into the apartment. Later, the neighbors told me that her hysterics at the door lasted for over an hour before she finally left somewhere. By that point, I no longer cared about where she spent the night. The damage was done, and it was over. I had made my decision. The next morning, I arrived at work, leaving my car a block away, just in case. I carried a paper bag with me, the weight of it more symbolic than anything else. I entered the building, and as soon as I stepped into the hall, I immediately locked eyes with Kit. Predictably, he was surrounded by several of his colleagues, loaders, saleswomen, all standing around, curious. Their eyes were on me, some with mocking expressions, some with sympathy. But curiosity was evident in everyone's gaze. I could practically feel the weight of their expectations on my shoulders. They were waiting for me to make the first move, to show my reaction. I lived up to their expectations, maybe even exceeded them. With a grin, I stepped forward, my voice dripping with false enthusiasm. "Kit," I said, expressing joy quite convincingly, or at least so I thought. "Thanks to you, you saved me." I pulled the bottle from the paper bag and held it up. "This is for you. Have a drink. You can even share it with my ex," I added, laughing as I finished. The room was silent for a moment, the shock evident in the eyes of everyone watching. "Hey, it's not from our store," I added, trying to lighten the mood. "I brought it from home." I could feel Kit's discomfort growing. but I pressed on. All witnesses, I added with a mock flourish. Kit blinked rapidly, clearly thrown off by my behavior. He tried to find words, but I could see the tension in his posture. He wasn't sure what to make of me. Not now that I had flipped the script on him. Honestly, I continued, I don't know how long I would have hesitated to break up with her. My conscience was bothering me. How could I? She didn't give me a reason. If I tell her now that I'm not interested in her anymore, that she's boring, I'll think of myself as a jerk later. And when I realized you were making a move on her, I was afraid of scaring you away. I pretended not to notice, feared that you'd catch on to my intentions and wouldn't want to be the obedient executor of my plan. But you, I paused, my voice turning more sincere. Well done. You handled everything superbly. Kit blinked again, caught completely off guard by my words. What are you? He started, clearly struggling to find his words. I took a step closer, enjoying the confusion in his eyes. What's the matter, Kit? I asked with a raised eyebrow. Don't tell me you didn't know. I knew exactly what you were doing the whole time. It was all so predictable. You thought I was too weak to act, that I'd just sit back and watch. Well, guess what? I took another step closer, my voice low and deliberate. I wasn't just watching, I was learning. The room was tense. No one moved, no one spoke. It felt like everyone was holding their breath, unsure of what would happen next. The power had shifted, and I wasn't backing down. Kit opened his mouth to speak again, but I wasn't finished. You wanted to make a fool out of me, Kit. You wanted to show me who was in control, but you didn't realize that I've been playing my own game this whole time. And guess what? I'm winning. There was a long silence before he finally found his voice. I didn't think you'd go this far, he stammered, looking at me with a mix of disbelief and resentment. Of course you didn't, I said with a smirk. But that's the difference between you and me, Kit. You're reckless. You think you can manipulate people into doing what you want, and it might work for a while. But you underestimate people like me. I know exactly how to play the game. I turned away from him, finally giving him the chance to process everything. The room was still, the air thick with tension. Everyone was waiting for him to react, for him to do something. But I knew deep down that the battle was already over. I had won. I walked toward the exit, my steps steady and confident. As I reached the door, I paused, turned back and looked at Kit one last time. Enjoy the video, Kit. You might want to watch it again and see who's really in control. And with that, I left. Kit's face was a mix of confusion and disbelief. He was stammering, trying to gather his thoughts, but I had already taken control of the room, and there was no going back now. Talking about what plan? Well, you see, I feigned surprise, I said, raising an eyebrow. You really had no idea. Are you really so clueless? I pretended to search for a less offensive word. That you didn't understand why I didn't try to stop your affair, Kit? I paused, watching him squirm, and then continued. My dear, I wanted to break up with her for a long time. You understand, right? She's not in my league, as they say. We seem to live together, but I always felt like Michael Jordan playing against a neighborhood team. I let the words sink in, knowing they were hitting harder than I anticipated. I wanted to break away, but I didn't want to look like a jerk, not in her eyes, but in the eyes of those around us. Even here, I gestured to the crowd of onlookers, all of you would consider me as such. And now I have an excellent reason to break up. I've practically done it already, and guess what? You helped me with that. I could see the realization dawning on Kit. He looked at me, his confidence slipping, as I surveyed the spectators who were eagerly following the unfolding drama. Did you all hear that? I said loudly, making sure everyone was paying attention. I'm breaking up with her because of her betrayal, and now no one dares to call me a jerk and a fool. I'm getting rid of her for a reason. Laughter erupted, and the girls around us began animatedly discussing what had just happened. Kit's face turned bright red, but he didn't dare respond. As the group was talking, I noticed something that made my stomach turn. Kit's partner, the one standing next to him, held his phone in his hand. It had a distinctive themed case, and on the screen, I saw the very video that Kit had sent me the day before. I couldn't help but smile at the irony. Oh, by the way, I said, turning to the group, did everyone watch the video? Let me see. I reached out, grabbing Jack's phone. The guy beside Kit, who had been standing there quietly, probably not expecting anything to happen, mechanically released the phone from his grip. "Now you have to see this," I said, my voice almost shaking with excitement. I felt a strong surge of adrenaline as I tapped on the icon in the folder. My hands were trembling, and my fingers weren't very cooperative. In the heat of the moment, I didn't immediately realize that I had selected multiple files. My fingers hovered over the screen, and I accidentally highlighted them all. A pop-up menu appeared with the option to send to all contacts. Without thinking, I clicked OK. Now, I muttered under my breath, trying to buy some time as the screen spun, loading the file. "It's ready, oops. It seems something went wrong," I said, trying to act as if everything was under control. But inside, I was feeling a rush of excitement. I hit play. In an instant, Kit's triumph turned into a farce. The video was playing for everyone to see, and I noticed the look on Kit's face as he realized what was happening. His confident expression faded, replaced with a look of horror. He moved to stop it, but it was too late. What I didn't expect, however, was that along with the video transforming my fiancé into my ex, all the video files had been sent to all of Kit's contacts. And who knew what was in them? I stood there holding Kit's phone, showing the video to everyone. The room was silent at first as the group greedily stared at the screen, watching with open curiosity. And then, out of nowhere, I heard a collective gasp. "What did you do?" one of the saleswomen exclaimed in horror, staring at her phone. "You sent the video to all contacts? Even my husband?" The realization hit everyone at once. The video that had been intended to humiliate me was now spreading like wildfire. Every single person in that room had received it, and with it, a piece of Kit's reputation was being shredded. Kit stood frozen, his face pale, his mouth moving, but no words coming out. His smug expression from before was completely gone, replaced with a look of defeat. "Well," I said, my voice calm but filled with satisfaction, "it looks like the tables have turned. You wanted to make me the fool, but it seems like you're the one who's been played, Kit." The room was still, but it wasn't just the video that had people stunned. It was the realization that everything Kit had worked for, everything he had tried to destroy, was now crumbling around him. And I had orchestrated it all. Another girl moaned in the background, following the scene on the video that was playing for everyone to see. Within minutes, 5 girls were screaming hysterically, showering curses on both Kit and me. The atmosphere was thick with anger and disbelief. As I watched the reactions unfold, everything became crystal clear. In this folder on Kit's cloud, there were other videos resembling the one that was playing for all to see. Videos of his other passions. Among them were married women. Kit had built quite a reputation as a ladies' man, never letting a single opportunity slip by. The most surprising part was the breadth of his connections. Due to the nature of his work, he had contact with practically all the store employees and even some of their families. Right at that moment, these family members could have been watching the videos, unpleasantly surprised to discover something new about their wives and daughters. But even if not everyone had seen these videos, there was no doubt someone would inform them. The gossip was bound to spread. I had a strange feeling about how all of this was going to unfold, but nothing prepared me for the look on Tina's face when I saw her again. It was around noon when I saw her. She looked pale, her eyes were red, and when our eyes met, I saw pure horror. But I didn't think it was horror directed at me. It was the horror of what was happening in general, what she had been caught up in. Everyone was avoiding her. Everyone except for a couple of those women who were hysterical about the videos that had been sent to their husbands. They were talking to her, but I didn't know what they were saying. I didn't care. The next day, Kit didn't show up for work. By lunchtime, there was a rumor going around that he had been severely beaten by some hooligans. The gossip spread like wildfire, and soon it was said that he might not return to work after leaving the hospital. Mending broken limbs takes time, and it seemed like Kit had a lot of mending to do, both physically and mentally. Several saleswomen came to work with a thick layer of makeup on their faces, but no amount of makeup could conceal the deep sadness that lingered in their eyes, intensified by the dark shadows under their eyes. The shame, the realization of everything that had come to light, weighed heavily on all of them. As for me, I knew that things would never go back to the way they were. The store, my life, Tina, all of it had been forever changed. But in the end, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of relief. The truth had come out, and it was liberating in a way. If you find this story interesting and want to see more touching, tense, but meaningful situations, don't forget to subscribe to our channel today. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Share this story with your friends, and remember to like the video so we can stay motivated to bring you more great and meaningful content. Thank you for watching and supporting us.